C'était cool.
What kind of family finishes building a cemetery before starting a house?
Ok. Vas-y, mais elle est vraiment grande leur maison quand même. Ouais, on va
It's
dans un cimetière.
embarrassing for me to admit this, but
Ah,
the
super.
pet cemetery made me more uncomfortable than the human one. 3 of the gerbils were mine, and 2 had been my fault. Sven built the house, but it was Edie who designed the cemetery. I'm sure Odin's monument had been Edie's idea. My mom was always trying to move on, but for Edie, the past never went away. She could see it poking out of the water at low tide.
Ok.
Edie said she dreamed about the old house every night.
C'est ce qu'on a vu dans l'histoire. Merde, j'ai dézoomé comme un Yokli. Ah. Ok. Je failli tomber, hein.
Edie's side was always easier for me to understand.
Je suis bloqué par quoi là? Vous voulez pas descendre?
But the older I get, the more I can see where my mom was coming from. She lost 2 of her brothers, just like I did. I get why she tried so hard to protect us. There's so many things I wish I could ask my mom now. Part of me thinks this is what she wanted all along. For me to come back someday and find everything out for myself.
Est-ce que je peux monter là? Yes. Je suis pas sûr.
But looking back on it now, if she told me there was going to be so much climbing, I never would have come when I was 22 weeks pregnant.
Évidemment.
I never met Grandpa Sam, but I think he and my mom had a lot in common. They were both pretty intense.
Ok, on est de retour dans une autre chambre. Merde. J'oublie toujours ça.
Dawn, I promise, you'll never forget this weekend.
Yes, sir.
These memories are gonna last a lifetime.
Tape dans le micro, attendez.
Am I gonna have to shoot anything?
It's a hunting trip, Dawn. Shooting is strongly encouraged.
Un connard.
What?
Perfect.
It's gonna rain the whole weekend, isn't it? I will never forget this weekend, Dad.
That's this. Okay, got it.
I'm gonna take some pictures, okay?
Just be careful. That camera's older than you are.
L'oiseau là? Yes.
Aw.
Ah non.
Definitely should not have drunk all that coffee.
Super.
That's a keeper. Hold still while I take a picture of you.
I'm just saying, I'm not always gonna be here, Don. You'll need to remember this stuff, if you want to survive.
I'll be fine, Dad.
You know who else thought he was gonna be fine?
Some guy who died.
Don, I'm being serious.
I know, Dad. You're always serious. Doesn't being out here make you want to chill out?
Well, to tell you the truth, I haven't been out here in 20 years. Don, don't you think
C'est
you
galère
can
de prendre
find
des
something
photos là.
more interesting to
Ah, c'était même pas
photograph?
ça en plus.
Last time I was with my brother Calvin. Man, that was a great trip. Your grandpa Sven taught us how to fish, how to build a fire.
C'est quoi si c'est pas le mec?
Found an old logging trail. There were deer everywhere. I bet if I could remember where that trail was, we'd spot a buck for you. You don't need to waste any more film on me, kiddo.
Mais
Give me a minute
oh.
to check the map.
Attends, parce que là, je suis vraiment... Je crois que je suis un débile.
Let's see.
Dad!
Good eyes, Don. Before you take the shot, let me get a picture of it.
Dad, I...
Just breathe. Turn off your... Let me get behind you.
Do I have to do this?
Don, you don't have to do anything.
Ouais.
Great shot, Don! I'm proud of you, Don. Always remember that, okay?
Je vois pas où.
Sorry, Don, just gotta reset the timer.
Quoi, mais...
Dad, it's twitching. I think
That's
it's
totally
so...
normal, Don. Just focus on the camera. Try not to think about...
Dad!
Ah, mais sale, hein. Bon, je crois qu'il est plus vivant.
Of all these stories, that's the one I wish most that my mom had told me.
Ouais. Ouais. C'est triste. Et il n'était pas mort.
After Sam died, my mom and Edie got really close. They'd both lost a lot.
Dear Kay, do you remember the way Gregory used to laugh when he thought he was alone? Like something funny was happening, but only he could see it. I think he saw things the rest of us don't.
Ah, mais je suis la grenouille, ok, d'accord.
Time's over, Gregory. It's time to... Hold on, sweetie.
Oh. Je suis la grenouille.
Hello? Sam, I told you I don't want to talk right now.
I wonder what he saw.
Putain, c'est galère.
He reminded me so much of Calvin. Lost in his imagination. Whatever it was, he saw.
Ça y est, j'ai perdu la grenouille. Je vais oublié la récupérer.
It sure made him happy.
Faut qu'on aille où? Ah, la grenouille. Ah, mais j'arrive pas, c'est les touches américaines, c'est chiant.
inside the tent. The rain came down in buckets then, but no one seemed afraid that nature might destroy the tent our dad had crudely made. The thunder sounded much too close and full of angry power, but all my father said to this was, "Make the music louder."
Ok, faut que je fasse quoi avec tout ça? Ok, on a tout récupéré presque par terre. Qu'est-ce que je dois faire?
I wish that I could truly say I thought about you on that day. Out there on the beach alone, just you, the wind, the sea, and foam. But I didn't, until we found you.
She never talked about him, but Mom told me once if I was a boy, they were going to name me Gus.
Ok, faut que je monte là, je pense.
My mom moved up to the loft after her brothers died. At the time, it was as far away as she could get. She spent a summer building houses in Calcutta, where she met my dad, Sanjay.
Ok. Ah.
Religion was another thing my mom never talked about, but I think it helped her a lot after her dad died.
Par la fenêtre.
My mom moved to India a week after graduation and got a job teaching English. Louis was born a year later. When my dad died, I don't think Mom knew where else to go. I'm sure Edie was happy to have her back. And to see kids in the house again. The house had to get a little bigger, but Edie was used to that.
Ok. On y va.
And for a while, things were good. Almost normal. But it didn't last.
Tu sais, ils ont leur salle d'école presque. Je sais pas s'ils faisaient cours ici, mais ils ont leur truc perso.
The beginning of the end was Milton's 10th birthday, when Edie gave him a castle. After Milton disappeared, the only thing he left behind was a room full of paintings.
forcément un moyen de rentrer, voilà. Ok.
Milton Finch in The Magic Paintbrush.
Ouais, le mec il dessine et ça se passe dans la vraie vie.
I was 4 when Milton disappeared.
C'est quoi cette famille? Ils ont tous disparu, ils sont tous déjà morts.
Mom spent months searching for my brother. Then she sealed the doors.
C'est où j'ai vu? Il y avait là, mais j'ai vu un autre point. Ah oui, là. On va ressortir.
Whatever Milton had found in the house, Mom didn't want it getting out.
Ok. Ça tourne en rond. En plus, je suis bloqué par des pots, putain, fais chier. Ok. Je peux monter ou la porte elle va me gêner? Ok, je peux monter.
Mom definitely blamed Edie, but I think Lewis blamed himself. After he graduated, he just spent more and more time in his room. Until Mom got him a job at the cannery.
On va passer par là. On ira en haut plus tard. On va faire tout ce qu'il y a en bas et en haut plus tard. Ok.
Lewis's room smelled very, very familiar. That part of him lived on. Lewis and I spent a lot of time playing games together, but he was surprisingly bad at them. He died a lot.
Dear Mrs. Finch, as Lewis's psychiatrist, I can understand your desire for an explanation. As I see it, the trouble began in January, shortly after we convinced your son to seek treatment for substance abuse. Newly sober, I believe Lewis first noticed the monotony of his daily life. He kept working at the cannery, but he withdrew part of himself. In our sessions, I saw the same behavior.
Ah, c'est super.
His mind began to wander. I asked him to
Je fasse les
describe
deux en
it.
même temps là.
said he started small, imagining a labyrinth. He'd feel his way about. Then something moved.
Non mais c'est un labyrinthe.
Bats
Ouais, ça.
and toads. And things that have not names. He knew it was all in his head.
Ah mort, j'ai grave faim là.
He took it very seriously. I had hoped he'd find himself.
Oh là là. Attends, mais c'est infâme de contrôler les deux là. Ok.
But he found something more. I worried about him then. Daydreaming at the cannery. I spoke with his boss. But he said Lewis had become a model employee. Methodical, tireless, focused.
C'est vrai que depuis tout à l'heure, hein. Je sais pas, on a tué combien de poissons depuis qu'on a commencé là, mais...
Like a whole new Lewis. So I let him go on.
J'espère que c'est bientôt fini. Hein. Ok.
I even encouraged him. It seemed very promising at first. He told me he'd made a new friend. On the edge of a city he named Lewis Topia.
Même dans ses rêves, il y a des poissons qui se font couper la
He
tête.
built the city up slowly, brick by brick.
Et il va pas bien.
Then he made musicians.
Une centaine? Je dirais 100. Ah ouais, peut-être, ouais. J'ai pas compté. Hein. Merde, il est où le perso? Hop.
And songs for them to play. He talked about starting a band. And he was always humming something.
J'ai grave faim. Je cherche un truc à bouffer.
Every day his imagination grew stronger. He no longer spoke at the cannery. But his chopping was as reliable as ever. Then one day it struck him that all the cheering crowds, even the stones under his feet,
Merde, je regardais plus.
were all in his imagination. So he could do whatever he wished. He held an election for mayor. And he won. They begged him to stay, but his mind was already wandering. It became a game.
Oh. pensais que c'était fini avec ce poisson, moi.
He'd conquer a city, then immediately push on. New Louisville. St. Louis. He started drifting away from our reality.
Je vais me la prendre en plein gueule, voilà.
Minneapolis. Until one day he forgot to go home from the cannery. Even as his mother pleaded with him, part of Louis kept sailing on.
Ok.
In Louisburg, he heard rumors of a
Je sais pas.
handsome queen. The queen was on her own quest for sinister serpents.
Pourquoi j'ai pris ça? J'aurais dû prendre des arcs-en-ciel. Ça aurait été plus simple.
He followed the sound of her silver harp. His chase led him to a golden palace east of the sun and west of the moon. Even then, his logic remained sound.
Attends, je vois plus du tout où c'est le truc qui coupe, mais c'est par là quoi.
He knew the world was all in his imagination. But he was so proud of having created it. In his own eyes, he'd become something greater than a king.
Il y a un problème avec le poisson, lui. Hein.
For someone who'd never known success in the real world, I think it was overwhelming. And then it struck him that the real Louis was not the one chopping salmon, but the one climbing the steps of a golden palace. My imagination is as real as my body, he told me. It was hard to argue with him.
Ok, on a fini de couper du poisson en tout cas.
He began to forget the world we know. I think it pained him to remember Louis, the cannery worker.
Ah putain, c'était long. Hein.
He began to despise the man with a royal contempt. I still thought I could save him. Even after he said he was being crowned king over all the lands of wonder.
Carrément.
The palace would be packed with his companions. including the wise Calico who'd insisted on inviting him. His queen waited, holding his crown.
Vite.
There was only one thing left to do.
Ok. On y est presque.
Bend down his head.
Pas trop. C'est une guillotine un peu là quand même.
And the rest
Yes.
I think you know. Mrs. Finch, your son was a kind man who will be missed by all of us who knew him.
Yes.
My brother was really cool. I wish you could have met him.
Ok. Donc je pense que là on peut sortir de cette chambre. Non, non, non. Qui t'a dit de rentrer? On a dit sortir. Moi je vais prendre l'échelle qui est juste sur le côté en fait. Voilà. Merci. Du coup on va continuer par là. On va continuer par nulle part du coup. Attends, il y a forcément... Il y a un truc. Il y a un truc. Non, il y a un truc que j'ai pas vu. Et on peut pas passer par derrière. Vas-y, il y a un truc dans la chambre alors. Yes, regarde, regarde. Je viens de le voir. Ça y est, j'ai trouvé. C'est juste là. Ok, je suis con. Je suis un peu con quand même.
On the way back from Lewis's funeral, my mom told me to start packing.
Oh,
She waited until the day before we left to tell Edie.
fatigué là.
I'm not sure if she wanted to make it easier or harder.
Ok.
I wish we'd stayed. But I understand why we left. My mom ended up leaving everything behind. What happened that night had been coming for a long time. Maybe it should have come sooner. But it had to end one way or another. All that's left now is to tell you about that last night.
Ok, apparemment c'est la dernière histoire.
That whole last day, Edie just watched us pack and didn't say a word. Until supper, when she raised her glass and said,
To our final night together, and all our final nights apart.
Grandma,
you know what I said about alcohol. Some of your medications are very
Edith,
specific.
I left a present for you in the hallway. Why don't you go open it? The grown-ups have to argue now.
I'm sorry, you're right. We're all leaving tomorrow. Let's just enjoy our last...
I'm not leaving.
Edith, you're excused.
Ok.
The power had been shut off that morning, but Edie always had plenty of candles. When my mom sealed the library, I don't think she knew about the other entrance. Or that Edie had a key to it.
Peut-être il y a des portes ici, ça sert tellement à rien dans cette maison.
That thing you're afraid of isn't going to end when you leave the house. Edith has a right to know these stories.
My children are dead because of your stories. I think it's best if Edith and I leave tonight. We'll have the nursing home send a van for you in the morning, okay?
Dear Edith, there's so many stories I wish I could tell you, but there's only time for one. This is about what happened on the night you were born. That night, the tide went way, way out. It was the first and last time I ever saw the old house aground. There'd been an earthquake out in the middle of the ocean. They called it the lowest tide in 1,000 years. God, it smelled awful. You know, I've seen that house every day of my life. But I never thought I'd go back to it. When the fog rolled in, I lost my way.
Ok, je vois plus rien, c'est génial.
I got turned around. For a while, I wandered. I started seeing things.
Ok. Je sais pas si on est bientôt arrivé à la maison après.
Things I'd forgotten had ever existed. But when I saw them, they felt like old friends. That night, a lot of things came back to me. Or maybe I came back to them. Things I can't explain, but that I need you to try and...
Edith, what are you doing in here?
It's mine!
Edith!
Mom, you're gonna rip it! Let go! I kicked and screamed, but Mom dragged me to the car. I never saw Great-Grandma Edie again. The next morning, the van came to pick her up, but she was already gone. After that, I moved around a lot. We both tried to make the best of it. A few years went by. My mom didn't like to talk about it. But she started getting sick a lot. The rest happened pretty quickly. She got better for a while, and then she didn't. And then I was alone. The last Finch left alive. Until I found out about you. I'm still not sure what to tell you about all this. If we lived forever, maybe we'd have time to understand things. But as it is, I think the best we can do is try to open our eyes. And appreciate how strange and brief all of this is. This journal was supposed to be for you. But now I hope you'll never see it. I just want to meet you. And tell you all these stories myself. I guess if you're reading this now, things didn't work out that way. This is where your story begins. I'm sorry I won't be there to see it. It's a lot to ask, but I don't want you to be sad that I'm gone. I want you to be amazed that any of us ever had a chance to be here at all. Good luck.